Welcome back. Our next step here is to create the Lambda function and the DynamoDB. Before we do that, I'll just make a few changes to our prompt here. Here we might want to add something like I don't know if you noticed it when we were testing the code. Here, what size of biker do you want? Just add in the jacket, and that's it. Oh, there's one more. How many blue medium biker do you want? So under quantity, let's add that, and save the intent and build. Hopefully by the time we're back, it's done building and ready for testing. So let's create our DynamoDB. Open this in a new tab. And I'll create a table for Lungu orders. Let's call it Lungu orders. And the partition key, let's give it the order ID. Let's give it email, and the sort key order ID. Leave it as string, and let's create a table. While this is creating, let's move on to create our Lambda function. Put this in a new tab. And then we'll create a function. Call the function Lungu orders. This function will process our order, generate an order ID, return the order ID to the customer, and we'll be writing it in Python. Let's create the function. All right. We have our function and the code is loading. So we have the default code generated by Lambda for us here. What I'll do, I'll copy my code and paste it here. All right, I have my Lambda function. We use the button 3. The event I copied earlier, the trigger for my Lambda function. I extract the customer email name, order ID. I generate the order ID, the random number using the timestamp up to the second. Save the order ID and email in DynamoDB. All right. So I'm back on my console. have my function. I'll deploy. And test. So I'll be creating a test event for the Lambda function. I'll call it Lungu test. And there's a Lex template here, others, but I'll use the one I copied earlier from the Lex chat itself. And I'll paste it here. Save. All right. And test. Okay, this is a permission issue. So my Lambda function is executing on just the default Lambda row. The only thing it can do right now is write to CloudWatch. So I need to add the permission to write to DynamoDB. So I go into configuration and on permissions, this is the role. So I can go ahead to add the permissions. And I'll be using the Dynamo DB full access. So I'll add the permission. The permission has been added. So let's go back to test our Lambda function. I'll go back to code. Right. So function, run the test. Okay, test was successful. Check the Dynamo DB. Explore items on my table. And here I have the order. All right, let's go and test this on Lex. I'm back on Lex. I'll enable Lambda function for initialization and validation. And on fulfillment, I'll click on advanced options. And I will enable Lambda function for fulfillment. I'll update the options. And from here, we'll select the Lambda function to use. Don't go others, and we'll use the latest. So we'll save. Let's save this. And let's build and we'll test. All right, our build is successful. Let's just go over what we did. On our fulfillment, we set our fulfillment to use a Lambda function. And also, we configured the Lambda function to use. So let's go ahead and test. All right, our order was received, the order ID was generated and returned to us. Now let's check our DynamoDB to see if our order was written into our table. Now we see our order was written into the table with the order ID that was returned to us and quantity on our old order. That's it, guys.